Welcome back to Nightcap Chat, the pop culture, comics, and gaming podcast. Today we are talking the monumental issue of Spawn 300 and what superhero characters do or do not need movies. I'm Blade O'Neill.
I'm Ken Brown.
Spawn 300 has launched this week.
Yes, it's here. 300 issues, 27 years of Todd McFarlane's Spawn. I mean, I was reading the letters page just recently and said he came up with the idea 20 years or 15 years earlier, 1977.
Really?
When he was just in high school and just kind of putting together this whole universe. And finally, after leaving Marvel, decided let's launch this into its whole world. And next thing you know is, 2019, we have 300 issues out, and it's the getting ready to break the record of modern era independent books. And
that's really neat.
some people, I was hearing arguments this week inside the store saying, well, about all the Dell and Gold Key books that were, the Disney books, the Donald Ducks, and all those books that have gone over, 300 issues of Walt Disney's comics and stories. And some
is
of
that
those,
the modern era, though?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, too, is like that. That's why I say modern era with that Spawn, because I said, too, David Sims, Cerebus, started in 1978, and he went 300 issues and just canceled the series just to prove that an independent creator by himself can do 300 issues of a book, and it can be successful without being canceled.
Yeah, sure, why not?
And so it was pretty cool. So, Todd's now had something to do with every issue of Spawn since the start of it, whether it be plotting, whether it be writing, whether it be something overseeing this Spawn book and never leaving the book. And 301 is going to be the breaking of that record of, independent books that I believe the modern era, because I said, too, I like to see the big picture if anybody can debate that, of going back to the golden age and silver age of, those Dell Gold Key books that people were talking to me about like that. This was not the first time an independent book's hit 300. That's not Marvel or DC. And I'm going, okay, that's digging really deep, but you got to give Todd McFarlane credit of
absolutely
doing what he's done with making movies out of it, video games, licensing, toys. I mean, Spawn's not just a comic book, it's a universe.
And comics were different. Non-modern issues are different. Like those old Donald Duck, like there was a market for these Disney cartoons and whatever, like when Marvel and DC were first starting out, like it wasn't about superhero comics. Like, I mean, Marvel was doing more like horror books stuff than even superheroes. So like it's a different industry.
Plus, it wasn't
at the time.
Dell's creation. I mean, they were licensing the Walt Disney characters to sell comic books.
Exactly.
And Todd McFarlane created Spawn. It's not something that he licensed to create comics.
Yeah, Donald Duck is not an independent property. That's one of the largest properties, arguably part of the biggest franchise ever.
Exactly. Like
it's Disney.
Magnus Robot Fighter, whatever you want to talk about, none of that stuff went 300 issues. And so this is something like, just breaking David Sims' records important to Todd McFarlane. And he said, too, like, I think the next person you're going to see do it is Eric Larson on Savage Dragon. And I do believe Eric Larson's even going to be more celebrated than Todd, because Eric Larson's written and drawn every issue minus the one where all the Image creators traded books back when Image first started. Like when Jim Lee drew that copy of Savage Dragon. And then I think Eric Larson went on to draw Spawn that month. I can't remember what issue. They all traded their books. It might have been Shadowhawks. That's kind of fun, but that's something they all agreed to do. And, even Todd did that too. Someone else drew Spawn that month. And so 299 issues. Maybe that's why he did the 301 to break the record, because, you know what I mean? He oversaw what happened that issue too, obviously. But Eric Larson doing every single issue of Savage Dragon, writing and drawing, it's pretty impressive in my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, and it proves that like you don't have to be Marvel or DC to make an interesting superhero.
Absolutely not.
I mean, there's plenty of room. Like we don't even have a modern age Spawn movie yet. I mean, like we don't have Witchblade. Like nobody's jumping. I don't know why everyone's afraid, but I think now with the success of Umbrella Academy and The Boys, on the streaming services, like it's coming. Like the independent stuff is coming, and Netflix just made the deal with
Dark Horse too as well. Yes, yeah, it's gonna be said too. Is like you're going to see Dark Horse come up with more properties that are obviously going to be designed to be TV shows. Like I think you're going to see a big push on Black Hammer. which is Jeff Lemire's universe that he's creating of like almost like a superhero-esque Avengers, like X-Men, Umbrella Academy, type of thing where it's his group of heroes that is his universe, but it's outside of Marvel and DC, and it's with Dark Horse. And so you're going to see Dark Horse and Netflix do a lot of fun stuff together. Obviously, they have the whole BPRD universe sandbox now too. Sure. And you may see, I don't know if this will be fun. I don't know if, once again, like it's John Byrne's property, but he started at Dark Horse and he's done it with IDW as well. But John Byrne's Next Men.
Okay.
And that would be fun to see if they can touch base on that. There's Concrete, which was something Paul Chadwick created. Dark Horse Presents way back in the day.
Yeah.
And so there'll be some fun stuff to see what they're going to dig into in the Dark Horse universe.
Yeah. I mean, everyone wants to copy the success of Marvel. And I mean, with DC all at Warner Brothers, I mean, like that's where you go. And there's plenty of great content to draw from. So like, I think we are ushering in this era of independent comics being
Have you heard of
more
Harrow
mainstream.
County?
I heard of what?
Harrow County or Harrow, Harrow County. It's going to be a sweet, like, I don't know if hopefully they'll adapt it into a TV series, but it's a very creepy town that's got hauntings to it.
Interesting.
And that'll be a fun TV series too if Netflix taps into that at Dark Horse. I apologize about cutting off. Just thinking of one more that popped in my head that would be fun to see through Dark Horse and Netflix.
I mean, man, I mean, if this Spawn movie, doesn't come out, maybe you should make a Netflix deal. But before we get into making movies, I walked into Adrona Comics to pick up my issue of Spawn 300.
Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, like there was how many covers?
There was 15 covers available for us to order.
It was unbelievable. I looked at like, okay, yeah, you just pick a cover. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I grabbed the homage to Amazing Spider-Man 300, right?
Yes.
I mean that to me was, it was McFarlane doing it again. So like, I just thought that was fun, and then of course, we're great Capullo fans and just
I
got
love
the Capullo cover.
The artistic design on that cover with the 3 lightning bolt and the zeros coming out of his hands.
Oh my gosh, I did not
awesome?
notice. Oh,
yes. The Capullo's genius at pulling that kind of stuff off.
You know what? Now to me it's obvious.
When I came out, I go, where's the 300 on this cover? I go, oh, dude, the way he did the lightning strike and then the zeros are on his hands for the 300.
I did not even notice that.
Such an awesome illusion.
I'm so glad you said that.
No problem. Dude.
Oh my goodness.
It's a great illusion. Capullo's done that a lot in the past too, and it's really great to see Capullo get creative again when making these covers.
And I would argue this is well executed because I did not notice. Because if it was badly exactly, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
How neat! I did a good job picking covers.
You did, absolutely. Oh my gosh, dude, there was tons. Another one too. J. Scott Campbell was got to do his first interior art on Spawn in this issue.
Yes, and you know what? That was my favorite part of the issue.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Jessica Priest. I mean, the art in that was really cool to see. That, as you said, we were talking before the show, the Danger Girl element.
It really reminded me of it.
And it's fun because I guess we're going to touch on it. Is like that. They introduced a new She-Spawn.
Yep. And
it was kind of cool. The spoiler, if you guys want to pause and read the book first. But the new She-Spawn, ironically, has been a long-term character in the Spawn universe in Jessica Priest. And she was in the original execution plan of Al Simmons way back.
Okay.
In the story, she was supposed to be one of the assassins to help.
Command of Jason Wynn.
Yeah, Jason Wynn. Thank you, dude. Yeah, Jason Wynn was more or less Al Simmons' boss, for his missions in the military.
That's what I'm seeing here.
And then Jessica Priest was Jason Wynn's right-hand person that they targeted to make sure she did the assassination of Al Simmons.
To me, I thought it was interesting because I think the whole point of this issue was we see Al Simmons get I guess I didn't realize the costume was a symbiote, gets ripped from him.
Yes.
But he kind of creates his own Spawn costume with the spikes and the flag, and he wipes the dirt on him, and he's just putting barbed wire around his arms and waist and plants a skull on his crotch, you know. And then we see Jim Downing in a leather jacket that looks like has the Spawn symbols, but then Jessica Priest becomes She-Spawn, and she actually seems to have, her own actual, Spawn, costume and powers
Spawn
now.
Cycle. Did you see the picture?
Yes,
there too,
it's
which
cool.
was awesome.
And then she has a gun too, just like, whoa.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's like it's like you said, it's almost like we're gonna get a Spawn team now.
Yes.
But I wonder if going forward, is Jessica Priest going to be the lead character?
I think she'll be a close ally, or they'll have a storyline that just follows her.
Interesting.
And then, like, Al Simmons is still going to be the central character. Whether or not she allies herself with Al or Spawn.
Maybe he'll be like the Johnny Blaze, going
like
forward, and she can be, the current Ghost Rider, if you will.
Yeah.
If I'm going to make that comparison.
Yeah, it is very Ghost Rider-esque if you think about it. It's like that. It's ironic that you say that too, because, I kind of think of Spawn as a amalgam of Venom and Ghost Rider.
Totally.
And I said too, it's like that. The chains of everything Ghost Rider uses and the symbiote costume, which they hinted at on there. It's like that. It's almost like saying too, he almost did the Spider-Manization of, Spawn there. It's like that. I don't need the suit to be Spider-Man. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's like, I'm still Spider-Man or Peter Parker, regardless of what happens with any kind of suit that enhances me.
Huh. Yes.
And it's almost like
point.
that Al Simmons did this inside this issue telling Hell and everybody that's trying to get this suit from, this doesn't give you the power. It's my free will and what Hell chose for me as that warrior. And I overcame it. I mean, there's things too, like if I remember correctly in some of the Spawn stories of the past, Al Simmons was the first person to rule over both realms.
Okay.
And so he more or less is trying to end the war between heaven and hell. And I said too that I'm not completely caught up on every single issue of Spawn, but there were some stories I know where he became the top guy. And it's like, this has got to stop, more or less is what he's been trying to do this whole time through.
And I say the second coolest thing, I guess, was now we had that character take on the mantle of Reaper, which I thought was interesting. And that seems like a really cool concept.
And the Redeemers was awesome as he was. And to see him become the Reaper, now he's like, that's a guy I think will be working closer with Spawn.
Yes.
Than She Spawned in a way.
Okay.
Or they have different missions. So, She Spawned maybe is going to be doing missions to continue, because it looks like there was a ton of research they were doing on Al Simmons.
Yes.
And the Spawn file that they found, and they were revealing about everything that they found out about Al.
Yep.
And I think that was where the key points of 296 and 297 of Spawn were a recap of the story so far. So if you guys want to go back and read the story so far, leading up to 298, leading up to what's going on into 300, let's pick up issues 296 and 297. You may have to go to secondary market now because it was super, super popular because they recap 295 issues of Spawn into 2 books.
Oh, wow.
And so it's key. It hits on the key points. You won't learn everything, but it hits on what you need to know leading into the storyline they're starting now.
So was it just, or is it more of like a box narrative approach? Like it was just somebody explaining what happened? Okay, I see.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to actually sit down and read it all myself because it did sell out pretty fast.
Wow.
It did go to second prints on a couple of them too, so I need to see if I could reorder more again too.
I wonder if this will go to second print. I mean, like there was 15 covers.
Yes, man, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I said too is like that there was supposed to be a Spawn 300 retailer appreciation cover. I did not see come in this week. And so I'm wondering if that's still going to arrive or not. Because there was a couple variants that still did not arrive for us. That I don't know if they just weren't packed right or what. But there's supposed to be a 1 per store Spawn 300 thank you variant.
Wow.
So that's something too to look out there if you guys are diehard collectors. Got to say, I'm probably going to keep it in my own collection, just to be honest.
Yeah, because
it's
Todd McFarlane,
I'm a huge Todd McFarlane fan, and I still have the thank you appreciation variant for the Spawn 25th anniversary #1 that came out a few years back in 2017. Okay, that was really cool too. So I got to say, like, a huge appreciation to everything Todd does to say thank you to the fans, because that is something I said too. Yeah, there's 15 covers, but he does also have a lot of fan appreciation for everything that he does too. Oh
yeah, 100%. And if you've even met him at any convention, like, I mean, it's just super it's cool. Nice like he takes the time with you. Like I can't even tell you how many times I've seen him just look at aspiring young artists, work and, give them critiques and offer advice. And like, he's awesome. He's a great dude.
Oh, the list of people he brought up in this industry. I mean, yes, Marvel discovered Greg Capullo, or, like a independent artist that got picked up by Marvel to do Quasar and X-Force, but he never became a big name until he worked with Todd on Spawn.
Yeah.
And Greg Capullo's career, you can thank a lot to Todd of how well he exploded working on Spawn and making Spawn, like, envisioning that same vision that Todd had for Spawn and just launching it to a whole new level.
Yep.
I mean, Angel Medina is another guy that worked heavily on Spawn for a couple years, and Philip Tan's a guy that worked on Spawn over the years, and Simon Kadinsky.
Okay.
He's a guy that's like worked really good time on Spawn, and just so many. Tony Daniel, another guy that's big for Batman fame these days.
Okay.
He worked on X-Force for a little bit too as well, but then after Capullo took some time off, they brought him in to do Spawn for a little bit as a fill-in artist as well too, and just so many big names. Dwayne Turner, I wish that he still did work, but he did Curse of Spawn for a while.
Okay.
And he started off
I think I have one of those.
His art was amazing, and just I mean, Capullo doing that Angela miniseries, I think, is what got him going into getting the regular Spawn gig, because he did the Angela miniseries before getting the full-time gig on Spawn.
And speaking of Angela, they mentioned Angela in this comic,
Yes.
and I was shocked, and I don't know if it's because I haven't read Spawn in a while. Like I was surprised they were even allowed to mention Angela since Marvel bought the rights to the character.
Yeah, it was interesting. I don't know. Once again, I can't speak for Todd, or I can't. DM is something you'd have to ask him. But it was kind of ironic that when the villain, obviously I think it was the clown, Maglabogia, was talking with Spawn during that point. You know, is that kind of like a way of saying like that? Man, dude, this is going to be a controversial statement, but the fact that Marvel Universe, Neil Gaiman sold Angela over to the Marvel Universe, is that kind of looked at as like that, man, dude, is that kind of just like a little pot shot? I don't think it is, because Todd doesn't do that stuff. Well, sometimes he did back with the hands reaching out.
Because from what I understand of that whole situation, Neil Gaiman did create Angela, but it's, you know, it is part of Todd's universe, and Marvel bought the rights to Angela from after that whole debacle was
way
settled.
back after Angela was dead.
So I don't know. I could be wrong, but I would conspiracy theorize that had a hand in help end it. You know, like, you know what? Like, you guys are fighting. Like, let's spy it. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, forget it.
Yeah, that's true. Then it's done.
You know, and maybe, you know, they are able to just, you know, kill her off and reference her that she did exist, but just can't do anything new going forward.
Yeah, it was part of the canon. It was part of the 300 issues that he was trying to a little bit touch on everything that's happened over his 300 issue run a little bit in this issue.
And I think,
there was references to, you know, his wife and daughter in there. I mean, obviously the Jessica Priest, and, you know, Jason Wynn was a little bit tinily referenced, but the different stages of the clown violator becoming Maglabogia is what I kind of was getting the hint of what was happening in there. That now the clown was Maglabogia. Is that what he was trying to say to, you know, to Spawn in that whole deal? It's like that. Oh,
I'm not familiar enough with the lore. I was a little confused.
Yeah,
but I mean, yeah, I mean,
the violator's definitely back, and I don't. It would almost felt like that he was taking it to the next level. Like he's gonna be the most powerful violator Spawn's ever dealt with, now, type of thing.
Yeah, no, and that would be cool. I mean, and now that Angela is at Marvel, like I think it would be cool to see her show up in a movie or something.
Yes.
But I mean, they almost can't at this point because of how they handled Hela.
Oh yes.
How many times are you going to do Thor's lost sister who got exiled to another realm? You know, you're going to do that again. Now, I guess Odin
gets around.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how it is in the mythology. Like that's how Odin is. That's how Zeus is. So I mean, sure. I mean, like Angela's a really cool character.
Yes. Well, that would make a great rivalry for Hela. You know, like if you want to give like contrast. Angela like her own movie, you know, Hela is her number one nemesis.
Is she?
She could be. Do you know what I mean? For that storytelling.
Well, she's dead in theory, right? In the Marvel universe.
Angela?
No, Hela.
Oh, Hela? Okay. Let's do it like
in
that.
In the MCU, in the movie universe.
Okay, the MCU universe. Yeah, so that's true. So that'd be kind of hard to do now then on that. But that would be kind of a fun way. I don't know if you could bring back Hela anywhere now since they are gods.
Well, she's the goddess of death, so why not?
Yeah, why not bring her back as a resurrection? But that would be a fun rivalry, you know, like Angela and Hela type of thing.
So then we'll use Angela here as a jumping off point for this. Do you think Angela, as a Marvel character, would work or should have her own movie?
It would take I would like to see more of a TV series of that, so you could draw it out. Do you know what I mean? And really develop characters, almost like a Constantine or like a like a preacher, or what is that other one that Lucifer?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Kind of do it like in a realm type of storytelling, like what they're going to do with Loki.
Yeah.
And either that or maybe work her into the Loki TV series. But as a standalone movie, it would be too rushed, I feel, for Angela.
I think it would be cool down the road.
Okay.
But I think it would work better if they kind of handled her like they handled Black Panther. You know, have her show up in another movie first.
Okay.
And then maybe
develop it.
And maybe we can have a movie later. Maybe.
Okay. And see if you like her. It's like everyone, that's the number one knock on the Captain Marvel movie is that, you know, they didn't develop her the right way. And there's a lot of people that kind of hate on how they developed Captain Marvel.
I was one of those people who was really annoyed. And the Captain Marvel movie is probably one of my least favorite MCU movies. And I found it particularly annoying that they just completely glossed over Marvel, Captain Marvel, and just made him Annette Bening. Yeah. And I don't understand what the point of that was. I mean, there are people who are fans of Marvel, Captain Marvel, and, you know, like, even if he was just a side character in her story, like, I think it would have been a little more appreciated that Marvel existed as Captain Marvel first. Yeah,
that's who Jude Law was going to be in the story.
I thought so too. And he was a fine choice for Jan Rog, and they did a great job with his character and the origin and stuff. But like, it was incredibly disappointing.
Yes,
how they treated Marvel as a character, and you know what, he deserved his own movies first before Carol Danvers even took on the mantle of Captain Marvel, and you could have drawn that out. And it would have been much more interesting. And then how cool would it be, you know, if she didn't have her powers, you know, she's this like, and then all of a sudden, boom, you know, she still could have been an awesome character. But, you know, and, you know, I really don't think Brie Larson is that good of an actress anyway, you know, so like that didn't help either, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing because I said too, like now such a great character of the Marvel Universe has got so much controversy around her.
Yeah, it sucks. It's a cool character and it's a shame. And I want to see less of her. And you know what, like, you know, everyone thought like, oh, she's going to be this Mary Sue in Endgame, but really, like, if you cut her out, it wouldn't have affected the story at all. So like, it just felt like they really rushed to stick her in there
as much as they could have on that.
No, I mean, but we had Sif running around. Yes. Like, why couldn't we have given Sif, you know, her?
Well, does it feel like after seeing Spider-Man Far From Home that Captain Marvel was more about setting up the Skrulls infiltration of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Where it's more or less Nick Fury worked with the Skrulls to...
I think that would have made the movie more interesting because they rushed to make them, oh, they're the poor refugees. And they didn't... I'm waiting for them to plant the seed still.
That's what Nick Fury did in the end of the Far From Home. It's more or less that Nick Fury wasn't even there through Far From Home.
Yeah.
He was up vacationing with the Skrulls. So they're his allies, not the antagonists. Like everybody's seen in the comics over all these years is like... the movie verse that Captain Marvel established that Spider-Man did the big reveal at the end of was that movie wasn't as much about Captain Marvel as about like everything that's happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe has had Skrull connections because all that happened before Avengers #1 and before Iron Man even.
I see what you're saying.
So you could even say, if you really want to dig deep, I don't think it is because you watch Tony Stark die and he would have turned into Skrull mode. Mm-hmm. If, do you know what I mean? It was a Skrull because when Skrulls get injured, they revert back to their natural form.
And we saw that even in the movie too.
How many people can they bring back now that they may have killed off in previous stories that were not really that person? It was a Skrull.
Well, it could have been Quicksilver. That could have been one person, but like they haven't. And I think we might get Secret Invasion later. I don't think it has happened yet. And Nick Fury, I think clearly has been Nick Fury on Earth up until that Far From Home point. I think he left. And I think it was because of the events of Infinity War that he was like, hold on, you know, I
need a break.
I need a break. Let's take a step back. And like, I'm going to start this sword thing because like, we're not letting this happen again.
Yes.
You know, so I think the Skrulls like were into play somewhere. But I think now is the time when we can start getting some evil factions of Skrulls doing Secret Invasion. But Nick also, it addressed Nick Fury being a Skrull in Far From Home addressed Nick's incompetence because even at the end he's like, oh man, I have no idea what I'm doing, and he's like,
absolutely, there was like they're giving you hints, they're giving a little like a bird for like a bird seed or breadcrumbs too, like that wasn't Nick Fury during the whole movie, and that's what that whole last credits scene, because I remember too like that when Happy Hogan called, was telling the code. It's like this right there is like, oh dude, that's your cell right there. It's like, I don't know, get off this line. You're not supposed to be on this line with me. Do you know what I mean? And it's like that. Don't ever call this again. It's like, and Hogan was like, definitely like, dude, you know, message. And the Skrull obviously wasn't informed by Fury, which was kind of one of those fun scenes in there, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got, well, we were talking about Spawn, you know, obviously Spawn, you know, needs a movie, and it'll be great to see that movie. But we've got Joker coming out in just a few weeks, I believe.
Yes, and you're not too excited about what you're telling me.
Okay, so here's the thing. Everyone's like, the initial reviews are like, oh, you know, he's great, he's going to win an Oscar. And, you know, Joaquin Phoenix is a fantastic actor. And I think he's going to do a fantastic job. And I am going to see this movie. But do we need a Joker movie? Like, I would argue no. And I think it's much more interesting to not delve into the mysteries of his origin, and it kind of keeps it a mystery. And I think that's part of the movie. Not without Spider-Man.
That's exactly what this Joker movie is.
That's exactly the point too. Is like, this is also a Joker movie without Batman.
Yes.
Or I guess they're saying that that's little Bruce Wayne in the trailer behind the gate or whatever. But like that's irrelevant. Yes. You know. I think Joker, so, I mean, look how Heath Ledger portrayed it. He went through different origins and, you know, what's a lie? What's the truth? Is any of it the truth? Is one of them the truth? Like I think that mystery is a very interesting and almost integral part of the character.
Did you like the Wolverine origin comic series?
The Wolverine origin comic series, the one where they revealed that it's James Howlett.
Yes. Do you feel that was necessary?
No. And I actually thought that was actually kind of degrading to the mystery.
That's exactly what you're talking about. Because Wolverine, they went through the same thing. It was like, what is the childhood of Wolverine? And it's like, how long's he been around? It's like, that doesn't matter. That's like the whole mystique of Wolverine. Do you feel like Wolverine lost some of his character intrigue after that? I
think so. And I think James Howlett is like,
yeah, dude,
it's like Logan. Like, whatever.
It's I think like, man, dude, they try to give more depth to Wolverine, because Wolverine was just like this badass character, a little bit like Lobo. You know what I mean? Like Wolverine and Lobo were kind of like the DC and Marvel equivalents of each other. It's
cigar like chomping and
you know. And like Lobo's still like how Wolverine used to be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like Wolverine, they've kind of made him more a centralized character of the Marvel universe by giving him more depth.
Yes, and I would argue it's not more depth because, I mean, like you look at, you know, like some of the Chris Claremont stuff, you know, he didn't know about the James Howlett thing. And like, you know, if he was in love with Jean, if, you know, Jean left Cyclops, you know, and fell in love with him, like, I think it's more interesting. Like, it doesn't matter who you were. Yes. It matters who you are now. Yes. And I think that is more interesting than like finding out what the answer was and then like, oh, okay,
like, why do you like redheads? Yeah, it's because he was tutored by redheads when he was a kid.
Okay, whatever.
And, I mean, it's like that. What's with the? Oh man, it's like, why is he so connected to the Hudson's family? It's like, oh no way, dude. Yeah, he's actually a Hudson himself too. It's like that. How it was almost like trying to make everything so perfect for Wolverine. It's like how ironic was it that the Hudson family was the family that found him out on their honeymoon after Wolverine escaped the Weapon X program. And just little things that didn't happen in Origin, but they kept on giving us little connections of like that. How Wolverine is more important to the Marvel universe than Captain America in a way, because you can argue, and as I said too, I think it's been touched on that they tried duplicating the super soldier serum out of Wolverine DNA.
Yeah,
and so it's like kind of like that. By doing Wolverine Origin, they moved Wolverine from being a fringe character into being one of the most important characters in the Marvel universe.
And I think you still could have done that without necessarily delving into his origins. And yeah, I mean, the Marvel universe has existed for a long time. And like, I don't know, it might have been a better service to him to keep most of it a secret still, but also if you had a really good reason and little stories of his past that he doesn't remember, just a couple little stories here and there, and not a full out, okay, he was born here and then this happened, and like then he had discovered his bone claws, blah blah blah.
And this Joker movie,
too much details.
This Joker movie may be trying to add that depth to the importance of Joker to the DC universe.
And here's another problem I have with them doing this Joker movie is that they don't care about the rest of the continuity of the DC universe. This is its own standalone thing, allegedly.
Yes.
So it's a little confusing to just see Jared Leto running around, who I think is completely underrated, and that's not anything you didn't like is not his fault.
Yes.
But it's just confusing to the average moviegoer because they're going to assume that this is a prequel to everything. And it's confusing that Joaquin Phoenix is a separate Joker than...
But the DC universe over the past few years, they did the big revelation of Batman when Batman sat in, I can't remember, man, I'm feeling stupid right now, the chair of knowledge.
Yeah.
And then he sat in the chair of knowledge
this
from
the
New Gods. Yeah, like that when that was during the Dark Side saga that they did at Justice League at the end of New 52.
Okay.
And one of the last things that at the end of that series when Batman sat in the chair of knowledge, he asked, who is the Joker? And it was revealed that he had an image of 3 different people have been Jokers over the years. And so that's something the DC universe still has not done the story. It's supposed to be coming 3 Jokers. And it's supposed to be the revelation of the 3 different Jokers of the DC universe. And so technically the movie may be trying to beat the comics because this has been revealed about over 5 years ago now. And so the movie plot, they may liked enough so they can integrate it into the comic series like this is one of the 3 Jokers.
It's confusing.
And so, as I said, too, that's something that unfortunately Jeff Johns came up with. And Jeff Johns is in charge of the cinematic storytelling, right?
Yeah.
Of the DC universe.
And don't get me wrong here, though.
So just a thought.
And maybe, and that's fine. But like, they have the rights to all their characters. Like they need to figure out what they're doing. And I think they need to plan out a few years of what's going to lead into what.
Yes.
Because we're doing this Joker movie that has nothing to do with the Suicide Squad and the Batman that we had. But now also we are continuing Wonder Woman and rebooting Batman with Robert Pattinson. Who's his Joker? Is it Joaquin Phoenix? No, because it's his own standalone. Is it supposed to be Margaret Robbie and I almost said Heath Ledger, Jared Leto? Like it's confusing.
Yeah, Warner Brothers, unfortunately, they overkilled this 52 idea. Mm-hmm. Like the 52 different dimensions of storytelling of the exact same character. Because it does create confusion of like that. Okay, for instance, the Batman Who Laughs, he's from a negative 52 now. Do you mean it's like there's like 104 different incarnations now that DC or Warner Brothers can play with of the one concept. And so unfortunately, DC's going to be in their own way over and over and over again because they want to offer content to movie viewers.
I think they just need to calm down.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's why they say like DC can't get their footing is because they've recreated their ideas over and over and over again, but stayed within the one concept. Do you know what I mean? Like the Batman of Gotham by Gaslight, still a Batman, but it has nothing to do with what Batman's doing in regular mainstream Batman. The Killing Joke is a Joker story, and they, after the fact, connected it into the Batman storytelling.
You see, doing
Son of the Demon, same thing too. It's like, oh, you know what? That was just a story where Talia and Bruce Wayne slept together. Nothing ever happened to that. Oh, wait a minute, Damian. Let's connect that back to Son of the Demon. And it's all of a sudden, you know, different things. Were these multiverse? Are these not multiverse? Like DC's done this for years of what can they get away with? Like Batman Beyond. It's like Batman Beyond's a future Batman. It never has to do with anything going on today. Oh, let's have the Batman. Oh gosh, dude, Future's End. We'll have Tim Drake travel to the future to be the new Batman Beyond and blah, blah, blah. It's just like they get these ideas and they don't think about what the repercussions of them are going to be. And I think that kind of becomes like the chaos that fans get frustrated with in the DC universe.
Yeah, I mean, but it's okay
story.
Yeah, it's okay to have the multiple dimensions. I mean, like you're going to run out of stories and stuff. I mean, like Marvel has a multiverse, but like I think it's a little neater than that. Like it's okay. DC
can't keep it ironed out. It's always wrinkled.
Yeah. I think it just comes down to they need to calm down, trust in their character. And like it's clear people in charge at Warner Brothers are they're freaking out. They're scared. I know you accuse them of just like, oh, we're not making the money of Marvel. Like, what's going on? We need to change something. I was reading an article the other day that Birds of Prey, they did some screenings, to see, initial test audiences reactions and it tested positive. But even though it tested positive, the execs were like, oh, I still want to change some stuff. Like, well, it tested positive. Isn't that what you wanted?
Yes. Well, did you see the Hush animated feature?
No, I did read an article about it.
Oh my gosh, dude. That's like
from
me
what I
beating
understand,
my head against the microphone because such a perfect story and they had to change it to keep us guessing.
I'm surprised that they bothered to change it because one thing DC has done really strong up until this point was a lot of their animated films like Flashpoint, like that was incredible.
Yeah.
Under the Red Hood, like that was a really fun, animated film as well.
Yes. And they're all fun in ways, but sometimes I think they try to be too clever in their own minds.
Yeah, because the fans don't want to. I mean, sure, give us
like
twists.
Killing Joke. Let's have Batgirl and Batman be romantically involved with each other.
That was incredibly stupid. And as soon as I read that, I was like, I'm not watching this.
Like the Son of the Bat.
That's weird.
Like it's supposed to be just the Son of the Bat, the Ra's al Ghul type of story where they Talia introduces Robin to Batman, the son. And they added in Talon into that. To have Talon be the mentor is the one that trained Damian Wayne about how to do all of his
weird.
Yeah, like being an awesome assassin type of stuff.
Okay.
And just little things like they don't need to add in these twists because we haven't seen it in the comic. Like the whole thing, the best thing about Hush was Riddler was the spoiler, the guy that helped out Thomas Elliot.
Yeah.
And in this one, it's like that, they had Thomas Elliot in it, but he was a throwaway character. And Thomas Elliot is Hush. You can't change that from the comic. I get it. In the cartoon, making Riddler Hush, they just made him a crazy man that got in the Lazarus pit. And I'm kind of going, man, just the thing was in Hush was Thomas Elliot did the brain surgery on the Riddler to fix him. And then he had the epiphany that Bruce Wayne's Batman, but I'm not going to bring him down alone. I'm going to work with you because you helped me get this cure of my cancer. And you've told me, you shared with me your vendetta you had against Bruce Wayne. And it turned out to be one of the most magical stories, I think, in Batman storytelling history. I just feel like they read the stories, the people that are in charge of creative of some of these movies, and they don't understand why they're special. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I think what a lot of these people in charge of the creative need to understand is like we want to see the stories we know and love come to life. We don't necessarily need to be surprised and have something change because it's just going to upset us. Like we want the essence of the story to be there, and to change major plot points like that, it's just going to get on our nerves.
And especially when you try so hard to hit certain plot points that were fun parts of the story, but then you miss the whole point of the story.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like that whole thing of like Joker more or less shooting Thomas Elliot in the alley. Beautiful. That was a great looking moment. But at the same time, the whole key point of that was Clayface that was shot in the alley because that was part of the game. Riddler and Thomas Elliot were playing with Bruce Wayne because they wanted to throw him off the scent, because even as you as the reader reading that, you started thinking that Thomas Elliot was Hush. And then Jeff Loeb mastermindedly writ that story where he killed off number one suspect halfway through the story. And you're kind of going, what the heck, dude? All these people like were, red herrings for who Hush could be. The whole thing too, like where they planned, Harvey Dent to possibly be, is Harvey Dent Hush? And, when Batman came in contact with Harvey Dent, it's like that, hey, they told me the plan, but I decided not to participate with it. But I said I would not reveal the plan until, out of respect to them figuring out how much more or less they cured me of my madness, so I owed them that. And so they revealed at the end Thomas Elliot did surgery on Harvey Dent, and that's how he was cured of his two-facedness.
Did he become Two-Face later again?
Yes, because the voices started speaking in his head after the story was over. But so many things Jeff Loeb did in that story were genius, and the movie just kind of like, it's not important. We don't need to touch on the Two-Face element. We, do you know what I mean? Like that it was Bane instead of Killer Croc. That was another thing that kind of like, why do you need to replace Bane with Killer Croc? Because Bane's more popular.
Yes.
And I'm going, dude, but that was such a wonderful part of the story too, as well. Like, Riddler and Thomas Elliot worked together to execute this plan where Batman had his best detective story of what the hell's going on. And it was cool. You were like the detective with Batman in that story. And every time there was like a red herring, it's like, wow, dude, another red herring. And who's this guy going to be? And then finally the whole thing too was like the Riddler was in there. The bank robbery thing with the Riddler thing, that was from the comic too. But they had Clayface be Riddler there rather than Clayface be, Jason Todd in the graveyard thing. They made it Scarecrow instead. And
weird.
You know what I mean? It's like that going, there's so many things like they read the story, but we can make it better by doing this. They go, no, you can't make it better by doing that. And yes, the fans getting a different story and it's like Hush A and Hush B, but the first one was so good. Just play that one out and that would have been gold all the way through.
Yeah, maybe Robert Pattinson's Batman will get a more proper, Hush story. Because, we haven't had a Riddler since Jim Carrey. It'd be cool to maybe we can start with a Riddler story.
Yes.
That might be cool and not have a campy Riddler.
Oh, man.
Go on to, another villain. And then maybe that would be a great third Batman movie.
The whole cool point of that, the end of that story too of Hush. Like what happens, what time is it when a cow sits on a fence?
What time is it when a cow sits on a fence? What?
Riddler response, time to get a new fence. Everybody knows that one.
Oh, okay.
And Batman says exactly. So if everybody knows Bruce Wayne's Batman, what's the magic behind it? Because Riddler found out that Bruce Wayne was Batman. And that's why he was helping out Thomas Elliot. Because he put all the two and two together with that brain cancer tumor being removed.
Yeah.
Riddler had the epiphany that Bruce Wayne is Batman. And he shared with Thomas Elliot because Thomas Elliot shared with him the story of how he really does hate his childhood friend Bruce Wayne because Thomas Elliot tried killing his parents so he could inherit the fortune. Bruce Wayne's parents died by accident and he inherited the fortune. And Bruce Wayne's father was the doctor who saved the mom, but the dad died. And the mom was the manipulative mom over Thomas Elliot. And he started getting more and more hatred towards Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
And then when he more or less explained this whole hatred that he had for Bruce Wayne, the Riddler had the epiphany, Batman is Bruce Wayne. And so that's what executed the whole idea of Hush in the first place.
Interesting.
And so such a beautiful story it makes Thomas Elliot a really dark character. Yeah. And the funny thing too is even the spots too, like when Elliot was trying to get Bruce Wayne's attention, walking away from the bar, it's like this guy has no time for me whatsoever. But then there were times they drew the pictures of the eyes like he was thinking about something more than what you knew as Bruce, you saw as a viewer, but Bruce doesn't know because it's not being shown to him.
Interesting.
And so I feel like they had, you know what I mean? They were doing the right thing. Then someone kind of like reached their hand in the candy jar and said, wait, how about this? But we already have this already done. It's already up to this point.
I'm a writer. Yeah, I'm a writer. I know better. I'm going to do this and make it more interesting. Like you just got to calm down, adapt it, cut some stuff out, if you need to shorten it. But the essence needs to be there,
Yes, so much passion. I apologize for going off on a tangent. That's my favorite.
That's great.
Batman
That's why we're here, right?
Yes.
So when we were coming, excuse me. So when we were coming up with this list, I was really surprised about one of the franchises you suggested, which was Suicide Squad.
Yeah, Suicide Squad was just a popcorn movie. It didn't do really anything to further the DC storytelling of their DC cinematic universe.
Are you saying that we don't need a Suicide Squad movie at all, regardless of
I don't think they needed to try to connect it into what they were trying to do because they were trying to make that movie the linchpin because Amanda Waller met with Bruce Wayne in the extra credits scene.
Yeah, it's like they were doing the Avengers, except the Thunderbolts instead, and beating Marvel to that punch.
Exactly, and it was like more or less like said, "Hey, Batman, if you need a team, I got this for you." Just in case, it's almost like setting up like that. If Batman needs a turn on the Justice League, he's got the Suicide Squad. That's the only thing I would get redeeming out of that.
Here's my take, and that's I think a Suicide Squad movie would be awesome. But once again, just like Justice League, they did it backwards.
Yes.
They introduced, there was all that cheap exposition in the beginning. Harley Quinn, she's this and that. Deadshot, he shoots. Killer Croc, we found him in the sewer. Yes. Whatever. And then Katana shows up in the middle of the movie. Oh, this is Katana. She's got my back. Okay, great. And then we have this weird flashback to her talking to her sword. And it
was so just jumbled or just.
It is. I liked Suicide Squad.
Who was the real villain of that story?
Well, it was Enchantress, but watching it again, and we know that Suicide Squad had extensive reshoots. Well, if you watch Suicide Squad and you pay attention to how many scenes Enchantress is in, she's by herself most of the movie. I think they did the reshoots. They added her, they fudged her in the beginning, and they completely changed the end. I think Joker was going to be the original bad guy, and I think that actually would have been a lot more interesting.
Exactly. It was like it felt like it was a cluster. Like where are they going with this? And that's why I feel like DC, like they second guess their thoughts after they see where it's going. Same thing happened in Hush. We just talked about that again.
That's exactly what happened.
And stick with your plot and go with it. Do you know what I mean? I don't care what someone says on social media about, that's, or someone that you do like these test screenings of, or, it's like, that's cool. But then someone writes notes of what they would like to see. It's like, we didn't think about that. That's what the fans want. Let's change the ending.
Joker not being the bad guy took away from all of his like he could have just showed up at the end and broke her out,
where he just broke out in the laughing standing with all the candles around him. That was one of the coolest Joker scenes I think I've ever seen.
That was cool.
Yes, and it's just like Suicide Squad had so much promise, and I think that's part of it. Why I said like they didn't need Suicide Squad in their story, because it didn't execute anything about what they were trying to do. I felt like
you could have done a really similar movie, and it would have been so much better if we introduced Harley and Joker in a Batman movie, have them captured, they go to jail, introduce Deadshot in a Green Arrow movie or a different Batman movie or whatever, and then have them go to jail, and then introduce who else was in there? Katana in another. Give her own movie, whatever.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember who else. Or Boomerang. Yeah, Boomerang. Have Boomerang being in a Flash movie. He goes to jail. Now you have all these people in jail.
Diablo.
Exactly.
That character would have been so cool in other elements, other than just how they quickly threw them together.
And then quickly killed them off too. They killed the jumping guy. Immediately. Like that was just a throwaway. Yes. Katana came out of nowhere. Harley seemed like she came out of nowhere, but she's such a cool character. She could have been in like 5 or 6 movies.
Yeah, you can't expect Will Smith and Margot Robbie to save every movie.
Although they were the most interesting parts of it. Will Smith's a good actor, but I was surprised how much I liked his Deadshot.
That's the two. Like the characters were likable. It wasn't an actor fault. Purely more or less not the actor's faults at all.
No,
that was just a poor script once again. Like that. Let's try to get through this movie and hope that we're going to get as much, fun for the buck as we can out of it from fans.
No, it's a shame because that should have been a build up. Not all the characters needed to be in a movie first, but you should have done it with Joker and Harley and Deadshot at the very least. And if Boomerang isn't going to be the bad guy in a Flash movie, having him be like a secondary bad guy and actually showing him in the Flash movies, robbing a bank, Flash saves the day, whatever. And then all of a sudden, wow, all these movies, there's little things and they're connecting and that's what Marvel is doing really well.
Yes, they did. That's the two. To have Spider-Man Far From Home be more or less the last of the movies and just be kind of like the tie-up. How they tied it up was one of the most deep tie-ups I've ever seen, of showing how all of the butterfly effects led to Mysterio. And I thought that was ingenious.
Oh, I see.
Something that DC can't figure out at all, that Sony and Marvel came to their agreement with the last stage of their movie storytelling. Yet they had enough foresight to see in that last movie, we can connect some of these little things. Mysterio go way back to Iron Man.
Sure.
And being, a guy that Tony Stark didn't appreciate.
Yep. And it helps wrap up the last, 21, 22 movies.
And it was perfect. And that's why I think I guess going into something else here, I think we're talking the next episode is the Sony and Disney thing coming apart.
Yep.
Right at the most wrong time because of how well it worked together. They just got everything worked out. Now Fox is all in their sandbox.
And it was the best. In my opinion, it was the best Spider-Man movie yet.
Oh, absolutely.
And I was really excited to see where it was going and hopefully get some
traction.
Cool characters like Venom, Black Cat, Sinister Six, and really wrap this up and have a good set of Spider-Man mythology integrated within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And now with Fantastic Four and X-Men there too.
Yes.
Wow, like this is Marvel. Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man. Like those are like the four pillars. I mean, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I mean, Spider-Man, they made into the Superman of their universe.
Sure. Yeah.
At the end of that franchise there.
And that's what next week's episode will touch on, as well as maybe something else. Sometimes we're a little long-winded, and what we were talking about changes halfway through. But we appreciate you all taking the time to listen this week. We appreciate you liking, sharing, subscribing. Feel free to comment on what you agree and disagree about what we think what characters do or don't need movies, and what do you think does or does not need a movie? I mean, maybe Ant-Man,
Yes, I was, again, one last little touch on that's the most obvious movie that was never needed. And I said too, like, I don't know what they were thinking. They got a great actress to do it, but just that story was just completely unnecessary, was the Halle Berry Catwoman.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Is that considered probably the worst superhero
movie ever?
Yes.
I think so. I watched parts of it. It was pretty bad. I mean, like, and it was worse than Ang Lee's Hulk,
Yes.
And like, even though that sucked, I saw it twice in theaters,
Yeah. And it's sad. The sad part, this is really how much I enjoy comic books. I did not like watching Catwoman. It wasn't that horrible, but it is. I can see why people say it's horrible. Mm-hmm. Like Daredevil, people like rip on Daredevil so much when Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner did Daredevil. It's like, I really don't think it's as bad as everybody thought it was, but maybe I'm just way too easy to please because I'm seeing these characters I loved on paper being awesome in live action.
I think Catwoman was terrible all around, but Daredevil I think is underrated.
Yes,
I mean,
me too.
For the time, I mean, we got the Elektra story, we had Bullseye and Kingpin. I mean, like, what more did you really want out of a Daredevil movie besides maybe just being less campy? Mm-hmm. But I mean, they even killed Elektra.
Yeah, even the Elektra movie, the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon Elektra, I didn't think it was that bad.
I think that's another completely underrated movie. And I can't tell you how many times I watched that introduction scene where the guy is being hunted down by Elektra and he's like, oh, I shouldn't have brought any of you guys here. He's like, who do you think's coming for you? Like, oh, you may have heard of her. Her name is Elektra. Like, oh, that's just a legend. And she's just taking them out one by one. Yes. And then I was like, oh, it's all true. The outfit, the knives, and he's looking at the reflection in his glass. I was like, so this is it? You just kill me? I was like, don't worry, death's not that bad. Oh, how do you know? I died once. And then he just kills him.
So well done.
Awesome. Look, I have a whole scene memorized.
So they can't be bad if you have it memorized.
I think Elektra actually wasn't that bad.
Me neither. People ripped into it like, this is horrible. Don't go see this.
I would be interested in seeing Marvel do more Elektra stories.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, doing like all that Elektra assassin stuff, like it could be really good.
My least favorite Elektra so far, since people are going to be probably hating on this, the Daredevil Netflix Elektra, I was not pleased with compared to what they did. I disagree with that. Why didn't you like it? I just thought it was too rushed. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. I'll give you, yes, it was too rushed.
Like they didn't develop
I liked her.
Yes. Oh, the character was cool, but they rushed her story.
Yes, they did. And that's a shame. And what my biggest problem was to me, not having Bullseye kill her was really disheartening.
Absolutely. And I said, too, that would have been the best way to handle that story.
It was the twist we didn't need, It's like they're trying to keep the comic fans guessing. Like, no, Bullseye is an important Daredevil villain because he killed Elektra.
Yeah. And then I said, too, to have her die and being brought back by the hand, it was okay. It's just it wasn't what I expected.
Yeah.
And I was hoping for so much more.
I agree with that aspect of it, but I liked the interpretation of the character.
Yeah, she was fun. Yeah. I do give you that, but it was just a little bit disappointing about how they utilized her story.
I agree. Oh, I totally agree with that. I didn't expect her to be the Defenders villain. But we appreciate you all listening, and we will catch you all next week.
Thank you for listening.